Hi, I'm John Cole Morgan from iQuilt here in Tring in Hertfordshire, and I'm so excited to bring you today the Vlieseline International Quilters Day block. We're going to make this beautiful block here, so simple to do. Over here, you'll see I've done it from light to dark, but on this one, I've done it the other way around. The great versatility of this block is you can do it however you like. The best thing about it, it's a scrappy block. You can use whatever fabrics you like. You can make it pop. I used a layer cake, and a layer cake, I think I had 4 pieces left over. Worked beautifully for my cornerstones, and I made 30 blocks out of one layer cake and around about 3 meters of background fabric. Naming a block is always difficult. I know this is a heritage block, but I'm going to do a little bit of a play on this. We've just finished the Scottish Quilt Show last week, so I'm calling it the square sausage block, because obviously in Scotland a square sausage is a traditional dish and we all love a good old square sausage sandwich. Love it. So please join me now for this step-by-step tutorial on how to make the square sausage block. So for your fabric choices, you have many options. I have this beautiful layer cake that I was going to do. So what I have done is I've separated them into 5 different piles, and you'll see I've got dark, medium, light, dark, medium, light, dark, medium, light, or you can do dark, light, medium. And then again here you can see dark, medium, light. You can just play with your colouring the way you want it. But what you need to do is pick out dark, medium and light of all your different fabrics. Perfect for scraps. Do it that way. So what I've done here is I have chosen one 10-inch square of my dark, medium, light, and I've done 2. I like to cut multiple blocks as I go along. So what I've done is I've lined my ruler up here. I'm going to trim this off. And remember, these are going to be 2 inches this way, 1 7/8 inches this way. And then from here, you're going to be 4 3/4. So I'm going to cut all of my pieces to go in one. So for the sake of ease, what I've done is I've cut these into pieces like this, and those 4 will make one block. The next 4 will make another block, and then these 4, as you can see, will make other blocks as you go along. This is how I prefer to do it. I love cutting group bundles like this. I find it much easier, and if you are going to, make sure you keep them in order. So this is our finished block, and I'm so excited. I think it looks really pretty. Now, the easiest way of doing this is to show you how these pieces all fit in. So dark, medium, light. Unfortunately, the fabric does change as you move it around, so we're going to create those with our little triangles at the top. We're going to do 3 of them, okay? And then we've got a square in the middle, and then our last side are medium, light, medium, dark, and those are all going to go together there. That's going to create this section, and then we've got some triangles on the side. Now, I'm not sure if that made any sense to you, so let me show you again in a bit more of a representation of it. This is the finished block that we're making over there. And what we're going to start with is our square in the middle. We have these 2 over here, which we've already made, and we've made this one over there. And then we have our larger triangles, which are going to slot in over there and over there. Move this down a little bit. And we've got our larger triangles over here again, which are going to go there, and are going to go over here, and then this is the bit that's going to go light, medium, dark, and then we've got a little baby triangle on the top of it. And that is going to look like this. So the way I do that is I sew my light to my medium, just using a normal 1/4 inch seam. And because I've got my dark piece here, and I know that's going onto a triangle, what I always do is right sides together, I fold my dark piece, and I get myself a little fold line. And then these wrong sides together, I fold that so that I can see where these 2 little folds are. So you can see I've got that little point there, that I know that my triangle is right in the middle of that dark piece of fabric that I've got. I've got my 1/4 inch seam all the way down there again. I make sure that I open this up and I've got my light, medium, and my dark, and I fold those on top of one another, and I'm going to sew 1/4 inch down that line. Now with all of these, you'll see I press my seams open. You can press it how you choose. If you want to go to the dark side, do that. But then you're going to have 4 pieces that look like that. So now that I've got all of my pieces together, I've got my 2 pieces here, which I know are going to go onto my square in the middle. So we'll do those first. I'm going to sew one of those segments onto my central square. So that one's done, and then I'm going to sew that section onto here. And as if by magic, we have those all put together. Now the next segment, we're going to make 2 of these, so they're going to look identical. I'm going to put them on top of each other so you can see what I mean. And what we're going to do here is we're going to take our larger triangles and we're going to stitch that onto the side of this. These are really easy to do, and all you're doing is you're taking the straight, short sides of your triangle, lining it up with your square there and lining it up with your square there, and you're going to stitch 1/4 inch down that seam over there. And we're going to do that on both sides of this block. So you can see we've done this side over here. And now, just like we did on the right-hand side, we're going to do it on the left-hand side. We're lining up the short sides of our triangle there and there against the square, lining it up beautifully like that, and then stitching 1/4 inch down that seam. We're going to do that for both sides of the block. So you can see I have now sewn a short triangle at the very beginning, and then I've sewn the 2 long triangles over there in the last segment, and I've managed to now press my seams open. Now how these slot into the block is very simple. It's like that. Now when we come to put the block together, the points that are important to match are going to be there and there and there and there, there and there and there and there. So if you're one of those perfectionists that would like to make sure that those match perfectly, fantastic. I will give you a hand as to how we can do that and hopefully show you how that works. But I want you to remember, you're going to be kind to yourself if you've missed your point. The people are going to be looking at the beautiful quilt that you've made, not a point that you've missed. So we're going to do a normal 1/4 inch all the way along. I'm very lucky. I've got a needle down position on my machine. So you can see the needle is down. And what I do is I now take the fabrics here and I check to see that my point is going to meet. And you can pin it at this point or you can hold it, whatever works for you. The aim is just to keep your 1/4 inch all the way along and keep that in place. And hopefully we've managed to keep that point. But if we haven't, I'm okay with that. And now we're going to open this up and see together. Oh, nope, I didn't make either of them. But they're not far off. That's not bad. I'm happy with them. And then we're going to do the same on this side. But hopefully we'll meet a point or 2, a bit more than what we did there. But as I said earlier, I am not worried about the points. Did these 2 work better? Not really. But there we go. Now we're going to give that a good old press. And you can make as many of those as you like. So here we have the 2 of the blocks together. You can see it works really beautifully if you don't have a sashing in between. But if you want to have a sashing in between, that's absolutely fine. Just make sure you keep it in maybe 1 or 1.5 inches. But you don't need it because look how beautiful that looks over there. So the advantage of this block is you can just do 1 block and do a placemat. You can put a thin border around it to expand the size if you want to, maybe just 2-3 inches around the side, and I'll give you a really good placement. And then we get to the point where you can do 9 blocks, and these 9 blocks you can see would make a small baby quilt there, would work really well. It's roughly about 50 inches square. Now the joy of the block is you're able to now add and add and add. I've done this as a 4x4. I've added a 4.5 inch border around it. That's 4 blocks by 4 blocks, and as you can see, it'll be a nice size lap quilt. So the great thing about the simplicity of the blocks is you can just make that a 5 by 5. That gives you a quilt roughly 70 inches square. Might be a bit smaller depending on the size of your border, but I think you can agree it's a really easy block to be able to grow out your quilt, whatever size you want. Now the size that I've decided to do is a 5 by 6, doing 30 blocks. That uses a whole layer cake and roughly about 3 meters of fabric. You don't need to make it this big. I like having a bit of a chunkier quilt size, so that's how I'm doing it. Now, even though I have suggested in the pattern that you make your quilt block go from light to dark, as I have in that block there, you can see the array that I've done this. You can see that one goes from dark to light out, that one goes from dark to light out. So I've made them very varied to be able to create a really interesting quilt that varies in shade and color and hue and value. And I think you can agree, it's quite fun the way it is. I just can't wait to get them all pieced together.